Hello, hello, hello friends! Welcome back to Stories and Stitches. I'm Jada. I am going to continue with the beading applique adventure today. I am slowly but surely getting a little bit better with every little applique I make. And this little adventure has been so much fun. I am using up the beads that I have in my extensive craft collection of things. Today, we're upping the challenge a little bit more. I am going to make an initial applique, a J for my name, to go directly onto a piece of clothing. So I'm not going to bead it onto the clothes. I'm going to bead it like I normally do onto something, but then I'm going to try and figure out how to attach it. It's going to be quite a thing today. So here is the inspiration. It is this beaded J I made. This is buttons, I should say, glued to cardboard. So it's a decoration for my craft room. I made a cardboard J. I painted it white. I glued a bunch of buttons to it, and I added a little ribbon so I could hang it if I wanted to. Sometimes I have this hanging, sometimes I just have it sitting. I really like this. It's happy. It's kind of a pastel rainbow. It was a neat thing to do with a whole lot of craft buttons that I had. I have a tremendous button collection, so this was a nice way to use up some, but I still have overflowing containers of buttons. So this, like the look of it, I want to try and create a beaded initial, the J, that has the same kind of color ombre look to it. I've assembled a lot of beads today. They're all mostly the small ones because I really like, so the last one I did was this carrot, and I really like how the carrot came together. It's got a simple outline all in the same color and sized bead, and then I did really tiny fine beading on the inside. I think this one really looks good. It's the best one of my collection yet, in my opinion. I really like that. But this was number 7, so it took me 7 goes to get to, you know, this. I like them all, but this one I think came out the best so far. So I want to build on that success. I want to create a J that I will then attach to. I have this cute little denim vest. So kind of a 1980s stonewash vest. And I'm not sure where I'm going to put it. I was originally thinking the pocket, but as you can see, the pockets are pretty small. And I don't want the initial to be eclipsed by the pocket flap, so that wouldn't leave me with very much space. So I'm thinking I might actually put it kind of down a bit further. It's got a very narrow collar. It's not very big. I mean, I'm not very big either, but I don't want to put it anywhere where it's going to get hidden. I don't want to get hidden by the collar, so like this isn't the best spot because the collar drapes over it. I was thinking the front pocket. I think the pocket's too small, so I think I'm going to be putting it down in this area, which is fine, but that also doesn't restrict me to a specific initial size, which is important because I don't want to be restricted. All right, all that said, let me just pop into the chat. I have to say hello to everybody. Hello to Jessica Rabbit. Hello to Mr. InStitches. He's also going to be babysitting Penny today. Hello everyone. I know there's a handful of you kind of lurking, and that's fine. You do not have to take part in the chat if you don't want to. I'm just really glad you're here, and I hope that you're looking forward to a little bit of crafting company. I am going to try and make this initial today. Initially, I'm going to make a J. So I've assembled a whole bunch of beads. I'll show you the craft table in a second. You know the jacket or the vest that I'm going to be working on. It's denim. So I'm going to make the initial as usual on something, and then I'm going to sew it to the denim jacket. You've seen the inspiration. Let's head down to the craft table. I'll show you what's a little different with today. So craft table, lots of beads on the table today. I've got a bunch of different colors, and I'm trying to sort of stick to the smaller beads. Nothing much bigger than the ones that I used on the outline of my carrot. So I guess these are probably like no wider than 2 millimeter. Like they're pretty small, but then the seed beads are even smaller. So I've got mostly seed beads. I do have some flute or bugle beads, the little flute, the little narrow ones. I do have some of those because they're just such rich, pretty colors, and I do like the idea of changing up the shape a little bit. So I've got some of those in different colors. Instead of using felt today, I'm going to use this is polar fleece. So it's a lighter polar fleece. It's not like a It's a fleece. It's not like a super polar fleece. But it's got it's a knit fabric with like that soft kind of fluffy top. So the top is what I'm going to have the beading on. This is going to be the back. This stuff doesn't fray and it's pretty strong. So I think that this might be a better option to do the beading on. Now I'm not sure. I'm saying that this is going to be the first time I'm trying a fleece fabric as the backing as opposed to felt. The felt's fine. The felt, you know, is just fine and it's nice and easy to work through. But the felt I've been using is dollar store felt. No shade on that. I think it's fine. But because I'm going to be stitching this to something really strong, like a denim vest, and this is a vest that I care to wear quite a bit, and I'm not so sure if the area I'm going to put it in might be kind of a busy spot, like, you know, I'm banging into it with my arms or something. I just want to make sure that the whole thing is just constructed a little better. So I'm going to use this nice, stiff, non-fraying fleece as the backing. This whole thing is an experiment. I kind of know what I want. I looked at fonts. I spent half the night on Pinterest last night looking at different fonts because I'm trying to pick sort of like, I want to design, I have to draw the J first. I'm not really quite sure how it's going to look, but I think I have it in my head that I want it to be a little bit fancier than just sort of a straight, you know, line. Cup of tea. So, with all that said, I'm going to start drawing. I'm going to draw the J first, and we'll just take it from there. I'm going to try and do the ombre red through to the, you know, purpley pink kind of rainbow effect. I might do more pinks and purples and reds and oranges because I have a lot of those. We'll see. We'll see where it goes. I'm not quite sure where it's going. We'll see where it goes. Okay. Hello, Shell. Hello, hello. Welcome. Welcome, friends. Let's do this. Okay. So I'm going to just move these beads for now. They can come back a little bit later. I want to make a J that is stylized. So again, I'm going to do that whole kind of dotting thing. I wonder if I should... Trying to decide on the... Okay. Don't want to be at this all day, so let's do... I'm going to dot up the top. This is going to be the top of the J. Don't want the swing of the J to come out much further than the edge. I'm just going to dot this in. I want it to be, now I'd like this to be kind of cute like that. I want that to be somewhat even. I want this to be a little wider maybe. Yeah, I don't want the stem of the J to be narrow. I'd like it to be wider. So I think I'm content with the size of the top. So I'll just sketch that in a little bit more. And I want the stem to be a decent width. Might just pull this one out a little bit over here. Yes. And then, let's not make that too skinny. I like the idea of it kind of circling in on itself. Like it's just like just a little kind of extra bit of, like a little squiggle kind of. Okay. So that feels good. That's just sort of the thing to follow. It doesn't have to be exactly that. Yeah, that's not so bad. Okay, I'll show you what that looks like a little closer up. So that's the sketch. Let's make sure that I'm not got it too much in the... So that's the sketch. It's obviously a J. It's a little stylized. I wanted I wanted it to kind of curl in a little bit. I might accentuate that with like a flow of beads, maybe like a swath of color. We'll see where this goes. So that's the main design. Here we go. All right, I'm gonna start with my reds. I think what I want to do is I've got, I think I have red, a little bit of orange, yellow, green, and blue, and purple on my original J. So again, this is sort of the initial idea. I have a ton of red. I have a lot of pink, and I like pink. So in this one I used red and pink. I'm going to do the same thing. I do have a lot of orange, and I like orange. I have a lot of yellow. I have some green, some blue, some purple. So you know what? I might be able to do this sort of an equal amount, which might make a good idea to kind of, to block it off. So if I want to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 colors, I need to kind of grate this into 7 different things. So if I've got, let's measure. This is 7 centimeters exactly. That was not planned. How nice is that? 7 centimeters exactly. Hi Becky, how's it going? So I'm going to break it up into centimeters. So the first centimeter, so I'm just going to dot it out. This is just a guide. I want the colors to kind of bleed into each other. This is the 2nd centimeter. This is the 3rd centimeter. And it kind of goes across here. Here's the 4th. I'm just dotting it in. 5th, 6th. Okay, so now I've got kind of a general guide to follow. I kind of know how big I need my areas to be. Well, this is not going to take too many beads at all. So now I want to frame it like I've been framing them. So if I want to start framing it, I'm also going to want to frame it in the same color, unless I frame it in something completely different. Okay, another little technique I've seen while I've been working sort of through this concept on the internet. I've watched a handful of beading tutorials, and they're always a little bit different, which is why I love to watch a wide variety of people's attempts at things from a bunch of different people, because everybody's got a little something, everybody does something a little bit different, so you're always going to pick up a bunch of different techniques. One of the things I've seen that I really like is that they do all the fancy beadwork, and then at the end they go around with a really tiny bead, all one color, and they just do the complete edging all over again with a single small colored bead. And sometimes they are stitching together like the main work fabric with a different textile on the back, like a pleather, or maybe like a piece of interfacing or something, and they're kind of sewing the 2 pieces together, and that's to kind of finish it off. And that's really nice if you're going to make it like into a keychain or like a dongle of some sort. So I think I might go all the way around the edge of the J when I'm finished with a smaller selection of beads in one color that's like a neutral. So maybe black, maybe white. I don't think I have any gray. So maybe white. I've got a lot of little tiny white ones. White might be nice and bright, but black would look really cool, and I have a lot of black too. You know what? I think I'm going to do the frame last. I'm not going to do the frame first. Okay, complete change of plan. So I'm not doing the frame. I'm going to start just filling in the colors. I'm going to leave the frame open, and then I'll do the frame last. Will I do the frame last? Yes, you want to know why? Because they kind of cover off the edge. You don't see, they kind of do a whip stitch. They whip stitch, they do like a long line, and then they whip stitch over top of it. Yeah, okay. I'm going to fill in with color first. I'm going to outline it with black beads. I'm going to do the outline last after I've cut it out, because I think that might make it strong. And then I'm going to sew it to my denim jacket along the inside edge of the black outline. That's the plan. Okay. Let's get going. Cup of tea. Yeah, I think black is going to make it look a bit more like a stained glass window, which I love. Okay, so I have these reds. I'm going to start with these reds. I also have these nice red bugles, so I might throw a few of these in here just so I can grab them. And I'm not, yeah, these are kind of a pinky red, so that's nice. All right, so I'm going to start with red, and then I'm going to go to pink, and then I'm going to go to orange, and so on and so on and so on. So I have these small red ones. Let's get my beading needle going. I've got an orange color in here. I think I'll stay with that. That's fine. Starting with red, that's not a big deal. And red is going to be the top up here. So I'm going to start on one side and work my way all the way across. Let's do that. So, hello, Peaches. So nice to have so many of you here today. With this wild winter weather we've been experiencing, it is just nice to hang out with friends, do a little crafting. All right, so is that one's broken. Okay, get that out of here. Don't want to use these sort of clearish ones. I have other plans for those, I think. It's these little tiny ones that I want to use. So let's go 1, 2, 3. They're a little larger. I really liked the effect of the seed beads in the carrot from the last one I did, but they were very small and they took a lot of time, and not every single bead wanted to go through the needle, or the needle didn't want to go through every single one of the beads, so it took a lot longer than I thought it was going to. So I would like to just move a little quicker today, and I'm going to use some of these lovely long beads, and that will also make the whole thing kind of move a little quicker, plus it'll add some interest. Yes. And we will see where it goes. All right, have I missed anybody? We've got Becky, we've got Shell, we've got Ms. Rabbit, we've got Peaches. I know Mr. InStitches is lurking around out there as well. Okay. So with the longer stitch, I should say with the longer beads, I've got to be a little more cognizant of giving them more room. Let's do 2. I also have a little red one. I'll just squeak those in there too. Why not? Yes, so fleece is just as easy to work through as felt, but I feel like it might be a slightly stronger background. It certainly will be give me something to sew through the edge of. I might even, depending on how much I have, like just cut like a slightly larger edging. When I sew down my black beads, I'll do the same thing. I think I'm going to do long lines, and then I'm going to go back and I'm going to sort of sew around some of the threading, and then I'm going to sew it directly to my, we'll figure out a good spot to put it on my jean vest here. Hi, Charlie. The gang's all here. This is great. I also really like looking at sort of rainbowy things. That's too big. I think I'll save that. That's another big one. I don't think I've got any more little red ones in there. No. So, there. That's the end of that row. And then I'm going to start right here and work my way back. These reds are kind of, they're a little on the orange side, which is fine. I'm not too troubled about that because I think they'll flow nicely with the real oranges that I start putting in. That whole, getting that kind of wash of color that to make it look like they're kind of all bleeding into each other is kind of tricky. You've got to sort of mix a few together and then, wow, why did that go so far out? Strange. Maybe I could do 2 of these. Let's see what happens. Yep, sure, why not? Oh, I forgot I have these red ones staring me right in the face. I should probably use some of those. Charlie's lurking today. That is great. I love the lurkers. I tend to be a lurker on live streams when I'm not actually hosting one and I'm watching them instead. I like to sort of lurk, listen and lurk. Usually because I'm too busy with my hands up to something to kind of be typing. I also tend to love to watch live streams on television. Does anybody else do that? I'll pull up my phone if I have to say something, but typically I just want to sort of put it on the TV and I'll read the chat, you know, I'll kind of watch what's happening. So I think this might be the last little, I've got to tie this one off and I'm going to switch, I think, to that pink thread. I think I'm going to leave my knots, or my tails, kind of on the long side so that I can just sort of fold them all in, and I feel like they'll be less likely to come undone. Okay, so I'm going to pull out this pretty pink and get this one started. Where is the end? I feel like it's up here. There we go. Nice long end. Snip that. There we go. All right. Put it here and go through my last bead, which was a long one. And before I get back into that, a sip of tea. Okay. I'm gonna stick to this whole like 3 beads at a time thing. I've seen other people do a few more, but then they typically go back and they kind of stitch down the thread that they're working, like the thread that they just laid down. They go back with another thread and stitch over top of it, which I might do for some of the edge pieces, like while I'm sewing it down to the vest. You know what? This whole thing is an experiment. We'll see how it goes. Got to get into my, got to get my rhythm going here. Let's get some nice long red ones. And a couple of these little red ones. I think I can get one more bead on this row. I also don't mind if the row edges are a smidgen wobbly. Wobbly edges is not a problem, because I think putting in that border of black beads at the end will probably help clean up any wobbly edges. That's the theory I'm working on anyway. A little bit of wobble here, but I'm just going to press on. I think I may have 2 lines of red left before I get into the pink. So the next row is going to have the odd little pink bead interspersed in it. That's how I kind of see this coming together. Ooh, that was tight. I might have to put a fourth bead on that one. I'm going to try not to back up as much as I can today. That's another thing that I've been sort of doing on and off, is I kind of will take some beads out, back up. I might even like unstitch the odd thing. I'm going to try not to do that today too. I'm really going to try and just press ahead. And I might sneak another one in there. One of these, and we'll end with one of those, and then we'll turn the corner. Okay, so this is the line I'm going to come back doing some red and some pink. So I'm going to start with a little red, and now I'm going to bring in a pink, which, oh, I've got so much choice. I've got these lovely little ladies, and I've got these pretty little pink. Let's see if I can get this off without the whole thing kind of snapping. Very good. So I've got pink bugles here, and I've got these pinks. So I'll put a couple of pinks in there. And I'm going to use one of these, but I'm going to keep a red going, because most of these, this row is still mostly red, but now I'm working in a smidgen of pink because it's the transition row, I guess. Try to tuck my thread up almost underneath the previous row of beads. I feel like that kind of helps keep them all sort of snug up against each other. Let's do one of these, and one of these, and one of these little pinks. Oh, here we go again. This isn't going to fit. They're all going to... It's all right. I will make some fit. That one works just fine. And I'll do another red. I also have these larger pink beads over here, which I really like. So I think I might sneak in some of these, maybe? Why not? Yeah. I think I'll wait though until I'm down in the pink section. So not a lot of pink, just a smidgen. One, two, three, four. top row is kind of wobbly, so I might go back along it and just stitch down some of the little kind of wobbly bits. I may also do that while I'm doing the black outline. Not sure yet. This is coming together one little bit at a time. So, a couple more beads on this row, and then it's full pink. Let's finish it with one big red bugle bead. See if that works. Yes. Great. Okay. Now we're into full pink. So I'm going to start with a little one. And not that one. Let's try these are all pretty similar pink, but I don't mind that. And then I think I'm going to work in like a couple of these big ones and just sort of see what it looks like. The polar fleece, or the fleece here that I'm using, it's not polar fleece, but the fleece I'm using is a little more floppy, a little less resistance like to the weight than the felt. Not that that's super problematic, but it is something to kind of be aware of. Now, how do I like the big bead tucked in there? Yeah, I like it. Oops, that one doesn't want to go. Fine, I'll replace it with one of these. That might be too many. Yeah, I think that's too many. Usually let me put something smaller there. I might just try and slide a few of these longer, skinnier beads underneath the bigger ones. I don't mind when the beads kind of overlap each other. I think that that adds to sort of the chunkiness, and it certainly helps with the coverage, so I like that. Yeah, this is fun. Okay, I might get one more of these in, and then I think I'm going to be getting close to, might be able to do this. Yeah, right on the line. Okay. I think I can get two more beads in here, and then I'm going to have to knot off. Let's do a couple of big guys. And one little one. It's nice doing a craft where, you know, the knot, the back of it really doesn't matter what it looks like. I'm so used to doing something that kind of needs to look good on both sides. So this is a nice little break. And that's a nice little knot. Put my scissors over there. Okay. So, not terrible. Definitely gonna have to pin down some of these little red ones up top. I guess because that was my first line, it had a hard time kind of, All right, well I like the coloring, the color sort of patterning so far. Let's keep that going. How often can I thread my needle on the first go today? Anyone want to take a bet? I don't even know how many times I'm going to have to thread this thing. There we go. Sit back in there. Okay, so I will start over here. I need a sip of my tea. I'm going to finish this line and then I'm going to show you guys how it's looking, because I feel like now that I've got two colors kind of in and the top of the J done, I also know that unlike the felt, so this has got some elasticity to it, and I've already, like, I'm starting to see like there's a little bit of, not bunching, but it wants to kind of like, I'll just show you now. Because there's a little bit of sort of pull, a bit of stretchiness because it's a knit, the fleece is a knit, there's a little bit of stretchiness. So as I'm adding my beads, and I'm trying to be kind of snug with the stitching, it's not quite warping, but it's making the fabric want to pull a little bit, kind of curl a little bit. There's a little bit of movement in the fabric that I wasn't counting on. Not a big deal, because I'm going to be sewing this down. That will disappear when I sew it down. I'm going to stretch it back out as I sew. But it does make it a little confusing when I'm adding beads sometimes. I'm not sure necessarily if I've got all the coverage I think I do, because like this really wants to move a little bit, as you can sort of see. There's movement to it. But reds and pinks so far. I like the kind of different sizes of the pinks because it's echoing, once again, it's echoing this kind of concept with the buttons that I did. We'll see where it goes. I like it though. I like it. I think I've got one more line. I've got one more long line in the J top, and then I've got some to still fill in underneath it. So it's going to get, the lines are going to get much shorter now. So this, in theory, should speed up a little bit. We shall see. Pull and bunch makes sense. Yes, Shell. Oh, Ms. Rabbit, I love that idea. Are you going to put it on the back of the jacket? I love that. I love that idea. A quilt square? Yes. Count me in for a project like that too. I love that idea. I've actually got a lot of quilt squares. You know what? Maybe on a at some point I'll show you some of those that I've made. I don't know what to do with them. Like, I had a billion ideas. Some of them are as old as when I was a teenager. I was really into quilting as a teenager. And I did a ton of pieced blocks, but never actually turned them into anything. So maybe I should use one. Actually, that's not true. I have put some pieced squares on clothing. I have pockets, for example, on some skirts that are cute quilted squares. I love to do that. I love to make a pocket on a piece of clothing, a quilted, like a pieced square. Oh, I've loved patchwork forever. I think I must have a bit of a hippie soul. Is that going to work? I think that one's too long for that area. Come back to that. Country Darlin', hello! Country Darlin' says, love this channel, love seeing you work on other crafts, Jada. You're a jack of all crafty trades. Thank you. Yes, I think this is typical to us creative folk. You kind of get into one thing, and then that just kind of, it's like a gateway drug, a gateway craft. You get into one craft, and that just drags you into another one, and then into another one, and before you know it, you need a room, and then a shed, and then a whole other building just to store all your craft supplies. I'm not too fussed about the bunching. Like I said, I'm going to kind of pull it into position when I sew it to the jacket a little later on. So I'm not too stressed about it. And I don't care about the wobbly edge because I will be cleaning that up with a framework afterwards. Okay, so that's the top of the J. Now I'm going to come back here and I'm going to continue. Don't pull that too tight, Jada. Follow your own instructions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, I'm still on tack. So this has all got to be pink in here. So let's just zip through that. I like these big chunky pink beads. These are lovely. you could make a quilt sampler blanket, says Ms. Rabbit. You know, it's you'd think so, but the blocks are all over the place. They are different concepts, they are different sizes, they are different themes. And you know what? I think the reason that I never really turned them into anything is because I got bored of making quilted blankets. I wasn't using them as a teenager. I was far more interested in clothing and fashion. To be honest, I still am. I love clothing, I love fashion, and I often think about patchwork in terms of the clothing that I want to wear. So I think a lot of these pieces should probably just be turned into something that I can wear. Not all of them. I mean, they're just all over the place. Maybe like like to your point, Jessica, like a sampler to hang on the wall or something. It's worth thinking about. Okay, let's go down here. One, oops, I can stay there. All right, looks like I should be working some, is this the, I think I should be working a couple of oranges in here. So let me get some orange going. I am going to make some space. You guys can go back in there. Is this all the orange I have? No, I have any of these. Don't think I want to. I think I might just stick to all these orange. Are these the only oranges I have? I have these hearts. Should I work some of them in, I wonder? They're really large. They're kind of orange. One little orange one for here. And then I think I'm going to finish with a bugle bead. I can foreshadowing. I don't want to knock over a jar of beads, so let's cap that. And that's nice, and I think I can stick one more of these little pink ones in here. Or should I go with an orange? Nope, it's going to be pink. Okay, now I'm into orange. I think, do I use a couple of these? I'm not even sure how I would use these. They're kind of pinky orange. They're actually kind of opalescent. They kind of, I think they're too big. I think these will be used in another project. Thinking on the fly. All right, so I think as far as orange are concerned, I really only have these orange ones that I was primarily using for my carrot, but that's fine. I'm going to use these guys, provided they all slide over the needle. Here we go again. Oops, I don't want to do that. I'm done with the pinks though, so I can put those back over here. 1, 2, 3. So I think I'm going to interrupt the multi-bead shades, multi-bead sizes for a stripe, and it's just going to be these plain orange ones that are kind of orange and kind of opalescent at the same time. I like these. So that'll be like a little break. I think I can get one more in there. Now, why did you suddenly pull up? What is that all about? Oh, I had a knot back here. Well, that'll never do. I have to fix that. And fixed. After my experience with this polar fleece, we'll see how it goes on the jacket, but I might go back to just using felt. I like sewing through the fleece. It's very enjoyable. Is that too many? Nope. Your comment got erased? Did you just put in a comment? Sometimes I see in the chat like a message retracted, like somebody kind of put something in and then took it out. I guess you can erase messages if you made them. I'm not sure. But I don't know if YouTube is erasing. Sometimes YouTube doesn't let something get posted. Like if there's some kind of like a language, or they think it's like a link or something, I think they just outright don't let it go. I think. I know that's the case for like regular comments. Actually, I don't really know how it works in the chat, the live chat. So now I can sort of see this ombre happening. I've got, it's a little less sort of, what's the word? It's a little less obvious than the big button thing I did, but that big button initial is such a bigger space. It really does allow for more kind of size and shape playing, like you're playing with different sizes and shapes. This is my last row of orange, so now I want to start mixing in some yellows. And most of my yellows are pretty large, but I do have some like kind of off yellowy, almost orangey ones here, so I think I'm going to use a couple of these. And then I will make sure I use some of those in the yellow spot. So far too, I've noticed that I always think I need more beads than I actually do, which is nice. It's nice not to have to it's better to not run out. I almost ran out of orange, but then found out that I had some that were pretty similar, sort of tucked away elsewhere, so that was nice. When I was working on the, not the carrot, but the, yes, the carrot. I kind of ran out of the big ones I thought that I was using around the side, but it turns out I had some more, so that was lucky. Okay, now I'm into yellow. So, I'm going to just put this tray aside for a second and have a quick sip of tea. Let's also take a look at how it's looking. Oh, so here we go. You can sort of see, you maybe can or can't, like that little bit of it really wants to kind of curve because of the tiny bit of stitch work I'm doing. Don't care. I'm going to cut enough of a frame around it that I can sew the black frame beads onto at the end. And then I'm going to sew the whole thing down to the jacket. So we are not quite halfway through the J yet, but we're getting there. I like that so far. So far, I don't mind the curling. I think there's a little bit of bumpage with the first row of beads at the top, but I'll fix that as well. So far so good, I think. Ms. Rabbit says, thus becoming an issue. People in gaming streams that I sometimes watch are having comments erased and sometimes keep trying to block people. Oh, that's wild. Though mods are struggling to undo what the AI is doing for no reason. Still looks good though. Yeah, I mean, I think with all new, they keep introducing new kinds of anything new that they introduce, YouTube, they always seem to run into, they fix one thing, they cause a new problem elsewhere. I mean, I totally understand them trying to outsource more and more of the work to bots because it's such a busy platform and you can only have so many human beings doing so much at a time. So I totally get it. And I get the frustration too because the bots just don't, they're not humans. They don't get it. They don't understand so much. Shall I mix some of these in too? They're kind of orange, but I like them. So I'm back to using some larger beads, which is kind of fun. Let's start with one of these. And I'll go back to the smaller ones. These are kind of yellowy gold. Definite workout for my dexterity. Oh. No problem. Oh, it got tangled. How bizarre. All right, let's fix that. There we go. Didn't really mean to do the stitching in the yellow beads with the pink thread, but that's where we're at, so I don't think that matters too much. I guess in the grand scheme of things it doesn't matter at all, does it? Because from a distance you're just hopefully going to see the J. The black outline should really like be the clincher. Okay, so that's the yellow section, and I didn't even get any green in that, so I guess I'm going to do a little line of yellow, thin yellow beads with green. I've got all kinds of them in here, so I'll just start with this one and this one, and I'll do the reverse. I'll only have a little bit of yellow and mostly green. One, two. One of the big weather channels had a fake channel pop up using his likeness, and it was getting thousands of views last week. Oh, Shell, is that Ryan Hall, y'all? Because I've been watching him, and he says now he's got to do this. He's got to have like he's got to eat like a piece of fruit or something. Like I was watching him for like the last 24 hours, watching that great big storm come up through the U.S. Wow, historic. And he was saying like that the AI is trying. People are using AI to recreate his likeness and make like fake weather videos. And so now he's got to do this whole thing with where he eats a piece of fruit during his videos so that you know it's the real one. I think that's smart. I also think that's really frustrating. Like imagine you find out that it's worse than somebody stealing your content. It's somebody stealing your face. It's that is really frustrating. Hi, you. Do you want to come up and say hello? Okay, hang on. We've got a Penny in the house. You want to come up and say hello? Do you want to come and say hello? Hey? No, you want to do like... First, you just got to do the belly thing on the floor. Okay, hello. Hi. Hi, sweetie. Do you want to come up? No? No? You're not sure? You're not sure? You want to come up? Yeah, come up. No, I'm not getting... Okay. Yes? Okay, you want to come up? You don't know what you want. Okay. you want to come up and say hello? No? Yes? No? All right, tell you what. When you decide you want to get up on my lap, you let me know. You can also just sit at my feet if you want. That's perfectly fine too. Crazy little pup. Okay, back to the table. Yes, so Penny is in the house. She's just not sure that she wants to get up on my lap. I think I might go back to the small beads for the green section too. I have to do a little yellow and green over here. Like this is green, blue, purple through here. Green, blue, purple. So this is green, this is yellow, and this is a little bit of orange. But I'm going to do that, I think, when I come on the way back, like to kind of come around. So I'm going to use little tiny beads. I have two different colors, like a sparkly green and an opaque green. So I'm going to use those for this section because I like how the orange section of just all sort of the same size beads looks. And then I'll go back to using some fun big ones. Hi, Dizzy. Dizzy's here too. Oh, Ms. Rabbit, I've had that too. I've been contacted by companies who want to scrape the videos for AI. They've offered, you know, to create AI content. You know, it's anybody's going to use any excuse to try and sell anything at any time. I think if you're, I mean, I'm only going to speak from my own experience, but I think if you run a YouTube channel, you'd better enjoy it because it's a tremendous amount of work. But if you get to a point where you are happy to outsource your work to someone or something else, I think you've lost the plot. You're not really, what's the sense in doing it anymore if it's not really you? And I mean, that's just my own humble little opinion, and obviously I'm speaking from the point of view of a crafter, not, you know, somebody who does something else. So there are so many different kinds of content on YouTube. I'm sure there are, somebody could probably make a really good argument for an increased use of AI, and I'd be like, oh, sure, never thought of that. But from my own perspective, I just don't see what the point would be. Yeah, I think they're missing the whole point too, Ms. Rabbit. But, like I said, that's just my little opinion, and my little opinion is just one in a sea of many, so... I would just like to say that it is very windy here today, so we have been quite fortunate in that our power hasn't gone out, but in the event that everything just suddenly disappears, it's probably a power outage. So just to let you all know. I mean, I haven't even seen like a little dip in the power, so I'm not expecting one, but you just never know. And now Penny's up to barking. Might be time to knot off and start another. I might be able to get one more out of there. I might be pushing it, but let's find out. There we go. All right, so let's knot off. I'll show you the progress and I will continue. Okay. I'm just going to leave this right here. Guys, I'll be right back. I'm just going to refresh my tea and then I'll come back and show you my progress. All right, here we go. I'm back. Penny's excited. Lots to bark at. Okay. All right, taking a break from reorganizing my craft room, says Dizzy. Also finding things I forgot I had. Love it when that happens. Finally, thankfully the wind is down here. Very low humidity, long drought, high winds is not good combination, says Ms. Rabbit. I agree. Shell's making soup. Okay, let's go. I'm going to just show you a close-up of how much I've done so far. And I like it. So, everything always starts to look better when you start to see the shape coming together, when you see the color striping happening. I like that I'm alternating between small beads and then interesting combinations of beads. I'm really still finding my feet when it comes, or my footing, I suppose, when it comes to mixing different sized beads together. I like it so far. I've got one more row in green to do, but that is going to kind of intermingle with some blue. And I've got different shades of blue. I've got really pretty little lighter blues, and then I've got some dark blue bugle beads, and I'm going to be using those two blues together. Actually, I've got small opaque blue too, so kind of aqua sparkly and baby blue opaque, and then I've got these nice dark blue ones. So, oh, and I've even got these kind of gray blue ones here. So I think I'm really going to mix up the blues, because why not? And I've got a little tiny tray, I'm going to use to sort of put some of my beads in. I'm really mixing up the beads right now. If you hear Penny making barking noises, my apologies. I'm going to kind of have one eyeball on her. We got quite a lot of snow over the last little while, and shoveling does have to keep going. So Mister needs to step out and do a little shoveling, and that means that I got to keep one eye on Penny. So I'm going to continue along here, but if you hear me kind of calling Penny, that's what's happening. Okay, let's get back at it. I think I'm going to switch to blue thread. I've got blue thread. I might as well. Let's get into this. Very, very pretty thread. Penny also gets very excited when one of us leaves because she thinks that we're going to leave her forever, which is such a cute little, annoying little dog habit. Anybody else has dogs? Do your dogs do that? Okay. Penny, sweetie, come here. Uh-huh. Oh, goodness. Penny, come here. Penny. She'll simmer down in a minute. I hope. Penny! I apologize for my furry daughter's behavior, everybody. Penny! Penny! Come here, sweetie. Yeah. So I'm going to mix some of these beads together. Do my best not to knock them over. I've got these nice pretty little long blue ones, and then I've got dark blue, but I think I'm going to stay away from the dark blue. Oh, and I even have these cute little opaque blue ones in here. I'll use some of these too. They're a little lighter. Penny! Barking babies is fine. Penny, sweetie! Our cats cry when we have to leave them home alone. Oh, I know they want to know where you're going. They're like, why are you leaving me? This isn't fun. This isn't part of the deal. Okay, let's put one green in there, and then this is sort of a transition row. I like lots of greens and blues. I'm going to put a couple more greens, one green, one blue, one green. The thing is, we're not even leaving. We seldom leave her. We typically try to bring her with us every time we go somewhere. So she doesn't have to be home alone very much, but even if we're out just sort of, well, shoveling snow, she gets really worked up. Penny. Hi, Beth. Thank you. We are ever trying to make things a little more interesting around here. Okay, so now I've got kind of right across here. I guess how am I going to do this? You know what? I'm going to knot off and I'm going to start again at the edge as opposed to just making a nice long line. So just because this sort of ended at a funny spot. There we go. I'll tell you what I mean by that. Oh, I just did it again. I just created a knot. This is how it's happening. Every once in a while I end up with a knot in my sewing thread and I think, what am I doing? How did I get that there? Let's see if I can undo this. I really don't want to have to sew. I don't think this little knot is going to want to go through the fleece, so I'm going to have to undo that. How good are my eyes today? Where there's a will, there's a way. There we go. Okay. That's one. Looks like the other one wants to come up too. Good. Let's get that out of the way. That's one. And back through there. There. Ha! That makes me feel pretty smart. Oh, Dizzy, you've got your friends' pets? Aw. They go home with us. We have our friends' pets. They go home with us? Like, do you mean you're looking after them right now? 4 out of your 5 inside cats have separation anxiety. See, this is the thing. When they're used to having when they're used to you being around all the time, your pets are like, well, where are you going? This isn't, you know, like, I thought we were all friends. Aren't we all hanging out together? Poor little things. All right. I am now officially in blue. So this is why I kind of finished here, knotted off, and now I'm going to do a line straight across. I just feel like that's going to make it a little easier. Maybe I'll start with a lighter blue. I'm going to go a little light blue, pretty sparkly blue, pretty bugle bead, and then a little light blue one again. And the temperature is dropping. So if you have snow and you don't clear it and the temperature drops, it will kind of freeze up on you, and then you're really in trouble. So it's not something you want to keep putting off. All right, these are really pretty. I'll do one of these and then one of these. They try to come home with you. Aw, see, isn't that sweet? I like it. That's a good sign. If your friends' pets really like you and want to like, oh, hey, are you leaving? Well, I'll come too. Like, that's. I like visiting a home that has pets. I don't care what the pet is, because they really make a house a home. They also, you know, they're just funny. Like, I got a girlfriend who has a couple cats and a few dogs, and she had a pool party a few years ago now, and I was there, and we were all a bunch of girls from work, and we all kind of came over, and her cats typically skedaddle when there's guests in the house, and we were all outside on the back patio. You know, we were just sort of enjoying each other's company and chit-chatting, and then it was time to go get in the pool. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to go in and grab my suit and change. And I went in, and I had my purse kind of on the floor, kind of up against the back of the couch. You know, like the couch she has sort of a setup, or she's moved since then, but she had sort of a setup where you could, the couch was backed into the kitchen, so the kitchen and the living room were one big room, and she had the couch set up so there was almost like a bit of a wall divider between the two. So a bunch of us had our purses on the floor up against the couch, and I squatted down to get into my purse. You know how you're kind of in your purse, and I'm pulling out, you know, my towel and whatever, and my bag, and I was so zoned into what I was doing, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna take my purse, and I got my bathing suit, I'm gonna go to the bathroom, and I was really thinking, and my head was about level with the back of the top of the couch while I was rooting around in it, and all of a sudden I hear right at my forehead, meow. And I went, oh, and I looked up, and I was looking right into the face of one of her cats, who had been lounging on the back of the sofa, but I didn't see her when I kind of came in and went straight to my bag. And I don't know whether the cat was offended that I had just gone was ignoring her, or if she was like, do you realize I'm here? And she was friendly enough. She was like, hello. And I said, oh, hello. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. I didn't see you there. You know, and then you get the kind of like, yes, that's what I thought. Well, anyway, hello. And that was years ago, and I still think about it because it was so cute. Okay, I might change, so that's a nice straight line. I think I might make this a little bit green and this a little bit yellow, and then just a smidgen of orange across the top. Kind of like how I dotted it in, but things always happen a little bit differently when you're, you know, like I said, the lines are just sort of a suggestion. I don't really have to stick to them. Country Darling says, this J is turning out really cute. Thank you. I like where it's going too. You just never know when you start one of these things. You're never really sure how it's going to work out. I mean, I kind of, like I said, I've got like the big J that I'm sort of using from, that's kind of the inspiration behind it. But yeah, you know, two different mediums. And in theory, it should work out, but you just, well, you're never really sure. So I'm very pleased with the way this is coming together. I'm making little adjustments, I feel, as I go, which I expected I would. But so far so good. And time permitting, I will also stitch it down to my jacket. And if I don't do that today, then I will do all of that with you a little later, either tomorrow or the next day. We'll see. I have to admit, I am really excited about this right now. And you know, it's kind of nice with spring coming to freshen up a couple pieces of your wardrobe. I feel like this is a freshen up. I love this little denim vest. It's definitely one of my spring, summer kind of go-to pieces. And it's nice to just sort of upcycle a little bit of it. Hi, sweetie. Are you ready to say hello now? Since you're all by yourself, Daddy left you. You're all by your lonesome. Oh, wait, I'm still here. Uh-huh. Yes, yes. Okay, squeakers. All right, all right. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, hang on. Let's say hello to you and everybody. Okay, all right, okay, okay. Come here, come here. Come on up here. I'm not going to go into the front room. No. Come on, up here. No? She wants me to follow her. You are such a little diva. Come on up. Yes, that's a good girl. There we go. There we go. Say hi to everybody. Say hi to everybody. There we go. Yes, I know. You're so alone. You're so alone in this big, big world. Everybody leaves you all the time. Mm-hmm. You gonna say hello? Me? Good girl. Good girl. You wanna sit at my feet for a bit? Mm-hmm. Where do you think you're gonna go? You can't sit up on top of my shoulder all day. She would too. She'd sit right up there on top of my shoulder all day. If one of us is sitting at the computer, then she has to sit. She doesn't just sit on your lap. She has to get up on your shoulder. Can I put you down on my shoulder? Wait. It's okay. It's okay. It's just my lap. Yes. There. You want to sit on my lap for a bit? Diva. Diva. Diva dog. All right. Me? It's the penny interlude. I don't know if I can have you on my lap while I bead. Will that destroy your sense of confidence? Okay. I know you want down. I know you do because you're still looking at the video. Okay. There you go. You have to be careful when you pick these dogs up too because they've got these long backs and they're super front heavy. They've got all this power and weight in their chest. That's Penny. She says hello. Okay. Hi, Marlene. Welcome. She's such a sweet little dog. And she is so easily, like, what's the word I want? I don't know. She's so dramatic. All right, I'm going to start with one of these this time. Oop, bit of a bottleneck. That one does not want to go. I have lots and lots and lots of these little blue beads. This is such a neat little find, this little pile of beads. I kind of knew I had it, but sort of had forgotten that I had it at the same time. So when I found it the other day, and I keep discovering that there are colors in it that I need. Like I didn't really look that closely at it, so it's kind of neat. I keep discovering that there's little blue ones, and there's little green ones, there's little gold ones, and there's white in there. I didn't notice that before, so this was a good find. Deep in the old stash. Yeah, this is pretty. I was a little unsure. I feel like this edging has come together quite nicely. So I think edging the whole thing in black beads will be quite sharp. So I'm feeling increasingly confident about it. That's the best we can hope for when we're doing a craft. Increasing confidence. All right, I need a few more of these. I think all of my purple beads are relatively large. So the bottom is going to be all kind of heavy purple beads, but I think that'll look actually kind of neat because it'll be the bottom of the J. Okay, I'm pretty much at the bottom of the blue. I'm going to start with the purples now because the purples are really large and I think I want a little extra space for the purples. So I don't want to miss any. I've got these lovely ones. I've got these. Are those all the purples? Purple, kind of purple, purple. Yeah. Yeah, all right, here we go. Oh, and then I've got these darker ones, which I think I can get away with. Oh, that was wild. Excuse me one moment, everybody. My dog is being suspiciously quiet, so I'm just going to make sure that she's tucked into a chair somewhere. Good girl. Yes, she is. That's the thing with dachshunds. Silence is golden, but silence with a dachshund is suspicious. Very, very, very suspicious. I think I've got to just, you know what? I'll knot that off. I don't want to play chicken with the thread. It winds up slowing me down. So I'm going to knot off and thread back up again. I've got purple thread, so I think I will switch to purple thread. I'm kind of having fun playing with all these different thread colors. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to put this back in here. I'm going to open up this purple thread. I gotta find the start of this one. Let's just grab this and pull and see what happens. There we go. Desperate to not make a knot, I will kind of tie up what I don't need here. There we go. Dizzy says, I have a computer tool set. Tinker with computers, etc. My youngest was fixing his game controller. Husband asked me to get him a tool set. I gave him mine and said, I'm upgrading. Right on. Shell's wondering if there's a story behind the logo. There is. There is a story behind the logo, and perhaps I will tell it to you at some point. We do have a story behind the logo, but I think I will save that for another day. Not to be too mysterious or anything. It's just it's kind of a sweet story. So I think and it kind of goes with a slightly different, what's the word I want? A slightly different theme or project. So I think I'll save it for a different project. How's that sound? An elf J. Looks like an elf J. An elf J? Like an elf J? Okay, Matilda, hello. You're going to have to explain that a little bit. Elf J. What do you mean by elf? I'm already liking it because there's an elf involved, but... Two of these will fit. Maybe one tiny one here. Like how elves have striped shoes with pointed... Oh! Oh, that's so cute! An elf shoe. Yeah! Yeah, kind of. Sure, why not? That's kind of magical. I like that. I definitely think I like the smaller beads for beading. I have nothing against these larger beads, but now that I've gotten a feel for how kind of neat and tidy the little beads can be, now I feel like the bigger ones are a little bit clunky, but I do like how they look mixed in with the smaller ones. I'm on the fence. I'm on the fence. Those are kind of the same, aren't they? Well, there's nothing wrong with that. Let's do this. I just knitted a pixie hat and an elf would totally wear my hat. You got elves on the brain. Oh, I like that. Yes. An upside down gesture hat too. You know what? It's got to be all the crazy colors. The colors make something look especially kind of fantastical, a little magical. I think the colors, happy bouncy colors, make us think of, well, fairy tales and flowers and circus. Hi, you. Are you keeping an eye on things? Eh? I feel like I'm being left out of things. Well, you kind of are, but you're doing that for yourself. Good girl. You can sit right there. Yes, you can. Yeah. I think I'll start with a small bead, maybe two, and then I'll go to a couple of big ones. Yes, sure. She's sitting at my feet like a good girl, so that's nice. Just getting the bottom edge of this J done. I think I might do the bottom in all these little tiny purple beads. Or maybe I won't, because that might look funny with the black beads running alongside it later. Ooh, decisions, decisions, decisions. I want to keep that curve kind of going along the bottom. Let's do this. And I guess I can fit in a couple of big ones. Room to stick those in down there? Just barely. Oh, that really wants to bounce. No, I think those are just too big. I'm right at the bottom curve, so I'm trying to keep that curve going, and I'm fighting the urge to just do the whole thing with these smaller purple beads because I'm afraid that they might kind of get lost when I do the black bead outline, but maybe I'm overthinking it. That would not be the first time. Yeah. Has anyone been making the gesture crochet hats? I made one, cute but not a good match for the charity I make warm things for. Matilda says, I've never made a gesture hat, but I'd like to. Peaches says, I watched a Venice carnival walk about. I felt like I was there with the costumes. The costumes and masks were interesting. Yes, Shell and I had a little conversation about those gesture hats. And since our conversation, Shell, I've now seen them. I've seen them on Pinterest. And I've seen a few for sale on Etsy. I think they're really cute. I haven't had a go at making one yet. I might try. I don't know. I like to make things that I know. I like to make clothing that I think I'm going to wear, or I know somebody who's going to want to wear it. And like you say, I'm not so sure about things like that for charities. Like that stuff's fun, but maybe like the charities themselves maybe don't, like they're kind of unsure about them. Okay, so that's the bottom of the J. Now I've got to go back up the tail part. So I'm gonna knot off down here. I'll show you a little close-up of my current progress. Let's do one more. There we go. Okay. Most things in our house fix or used it for something else. Some go into crafts or art, always upcycling. D, we're the same. I like to to upcycle as much as I possibly can. I love, and it's not just about sort of the point of reduce, reuse, recycle, all that stuff. It's being thrifty. It's what our grandparents used to do. You know, you keep things if it still has a use. You find a new use for it. You innovate. You get. I love taking something and repurposing it. I get so excited about that sort of thing. Repurposing is so much fun. Okay, so there we go. So far, it's sort of red, pink, orange, yellow, green, blue, blah, 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 into the purple. The purple's kind of got a little bit of almost, the lavender is so light it almost looks pink, but I don't mind that. I think that's okay down there. And now I've got to fill in the top, sort of the curl of the J, and I've got to match it with the color opposite it. So I think I'm moving back into green. So I've got a little bit of blue yarn or thread still on the needle, so I think I'll stick with that. And I'm going to go back into the green. So I'm just going to use these greens. That's fine. I'm going to use the small greens. I'm going to try and make it look identical so that it looks like it's well, once again, this is the inspiration, and where I've had to, like I've got the blue carried across, I've got the green carried across. So I'm doing the same thing because I like the way this looks. I like the way that turned out. So back to green. I can sneak a couple blues in here because it's technically a transition row. So I will do that. All right, so we'll go with a blue and a green, bunch of greens. A blue and a green. Treat it like a little transition row across that edge there. And a couple more greens. Oops, got ahead of myself. Definitely wants to curl a little bit, but I think that will disappear once I have it sewn on to my jacket. Sorting beads in trays is very enjoyable. Feeling the beads kind of skitter around underneath your fingernails is also very enjoyable, especially when you know they're not going to roll away because they're inside a little tin. I mean, I'm not done this one yet, Ms. Rabbit, but I think my favorite so far is still the carrot. I'm still loving my carrot, but this is definitely working out to be very pretty, which is definitely what I was going for. I was going for pretty because it's going to be a pretty big, oh, I don't need that extra one. It's going to be quite an obvious piece of my, permanent piece of my denim vest. Once again, I don't hear a lot of noise. If you'll excuse me one moment, I just gotta double check that my pup is not getting into any trouble. Okay, she's being a good girl. I'm sorry for ever doubting her. All right. Looking like a boat now, says Dizzy. It will look like a J, I promise. Especially at me turning it around, all the different stripes of color. That's also going to change the way you kind of see it, but it's definitely going to look more like a J when it's done. And then, of course, I'm going to edge the whole thing in one unifying frame of black beads. I think that's going to look really cool. Oops, there you go. That's a bit funny. All right, so I do have a little bit of a dip. So I've got a little bit. I'm going to try and make this. I can also go in and re-accentuate that with the black beading later, so I won't stress that too much. But let me come up here a little bit. I know what you're saying, Ms. Rabbit. It's like you've been looking at the button J for a long time, so it's sort of like it's kind of in your head. I know, I feel similarly. I like the way it looks. That's why I thought, well, this should work on the smaller scale in buttons. I mean in beads, because it worked on the larger scale with buttons. I think it does. Like I said, with the black outline, I think that will just completely sell it. At least that's what I'm hoping for. So, and when you work away at something, you start to be able to kind of see it a little bit better. This is still a line of green. So let's do this and gonna have to knot off here soon anyway, so might be able to get one more in. better knot off, and then I've got this sort of slightly awkward, well, no, I wouldn't say it's awkward. I want to stick with the straight lines though. I've got this little kind of dip. This is where I'm getting to the fancy part of the J. So I want to make sure I have the right, I'm not struggling with thread. So let me just knot off and reload. I think I'll go into green. Let's do a little progress check here. Yeah, Dizzy, a white outline would also work. We kind of discussed that at the beginning of the stream, and I have white, but I use white all the time, and I think black will make it look a little more dramatic and a little more, like it'll stand out a little bit more. It'll make it look slightly stained glass-ish, and it's going on a stonewashed denim vest, so the black will show up better against the stonewashed denim too. If I was putting this on like a black denim, I have a lot of black jackets or something black, then I'd probably go with the white just because the white would stand out better. It'd be more of a contrast. But I think the black is the good choice for this. Plus, I have a lot of black beads, so I know I won't run out. So yeah, it's coming together. I think that looks pretty nice. I've got to finish that little dip on the J hook. There's that little dip, so I got to finish that. And I got to switch back to my green thread for that. And finish with that, and then I've got to go another chunk of yellow, and then just a smidgen of orange up top. So that's, and then I've got to do, I'm going to cut it. Do I cut it or do I do the, so I'm kind of trying to decide if I'm going to trim it and then sew down. No. I'm going to do the black framing beads first. Then I'm going to cut it, and I will use any of that little excess as I sew it to the jacket. Never done this before. I've sewn down plenty of patches before, but never actually any beaded ones. But most of the appliques I've used for things like denim and bags and stuff like that have been super embroidered ones that have like a backing to them. Not necessarily the iron-on type, but they have like a bit of a backing. I've never done this with beads. I've certainly never made one before, so we are still working out. The dip looks like a wave. Yeah, sure. All right, so I'm gonna put a wave. Yeah, it does kind of. All right, so I'm going to do a couple of little beads down here to kind of accentuate that dip. I also can, I'll use these guys. Oh wait, these two, are these stuck together permanently or can I split them apart? They are stuck together permanently. Okay. Let's get a couple of greens going. I'm just going to do two down there, and then I'm going to come back. Just going to get this little line of beads on, and then another little quick check of my dog. I want to make sure she's not getting into any kind of trouble. Do I need that one there? Yeah, I can do that. Okay, so that's the green complete. Now I'm going to move back into more yellow. So I'm going to do another one of these big kind of yellow chunky bits right there. And then there's going to be a little bit of orange up top. Then I'm going to outline the whole thing in black. 1 second, everybody. I just going to take a peek around the corner, check on my pup. Good girl. She's still okay. All right. Yellow, here we go. Now I've got all these different sized yellow pieces, which I like. I think that's cool. So I'm going to put a little one and then I'm going to go big. Maybe a little one and then that big one. And then the little one again. Oh boy. One moment, please. Penny! 1 second, everybody. All right. This is definitely a stream of difference. I'm back with Wee Pen. We've got visiting pups out for a walk and they get her very excited. Isn't that right? Yes. You gonna be okay? Okay, enough. I'll be right back, everybody. Okay, we're back. Yes, you're gonna be a good girl. Thank you. All right, sorry for that, everybody. I am definitely dog sitting. It's not another squirrel. We've got lots of dogs that live on our street, which is quite nice. It's a very dog-friendly neighborhood. But there's a lot that, you know, come for a walk and they just, if she sees one out the window, that's it. It's just, hello. I think that's too many. I think I'm going to go back to, I think I don't want two of those together either, so let's do, let's reverse this a little bit. I'll do two of these. Those too many? No. So, pretty yellow one, and then I think just a whole bunch of these little ones. That's not even going to fit, okay. A little bit jumbly up here, but not terrible. I mean, it does, you do want a little bit of fun. So let's do that. And might just pin that one down in place. There we go. All right, I think that's it for the yellow, and then this next line is all orange. So I will finish this off with orange beads, which actually works out nicely because the orange are going to be all one size. Let's close this. I don't want to knock them over. I'm doing that thing again where I'm starting to see the finish line and I'm speeding up. I'm trying to not do that because the more I do that, the more likely it is that I will make some sort of silly error and I'll have to reverse it. Okay, I'm just gonna put like one little stitch right here. It'll disappear between the beads. Okay, so that's that. Now I've got to do, wow, that actually looks good. Now I want to do the black beads. So I'm going to knot this off. I'm actually going to change colors and I'm going to switch to white, I think, because I think even though I'm putting on black beads, using white thread between the beads will make it look more like it will, I think the thread will disappear because it'll be hiding amongst, the white-ish of the denim, because the denim is stonewash. So, okay, I'm gonna put my needle in my book. Don't want to lose that. Here's how the J looks so far. And for context, here is the Big Brother version. So I'll hold that back so you can see it. So when you look at the two together, there's a definite correlation now. I feel like that really looks like stylized. I wanted that little extra dip on the hook. I wanted it to kind of look like a hook. So I think I managed to do that. I really like, the spill across, so the color stripe that goes across. Now I need to fill in around the edges using black. So I'm going to make myself a bit of room here. I'm going to put this here. Really don't want to dump any of these. So I'm going to shove this one up there. This is going to be quite the cleanup later today. Okay, I've got plenty of black beads, so I'm going to use white thread. Do I have my white thread handy? No, I don't. I do have purple thread. I'll just use the purple thread. It's fine. Okay. So, purple thread it is. I'm going to frame the whole thing in with black beads. I'm going to try and be as neat and tidy as I can. Then I'm going to trim it, and if I have the time, if it's working out, I will also stitch it down to my vest. I'm keeping an ear on Mr. InStitches because he is in and out, working on shoveling. He may have just taken Penny outside. Okay. Home stretch, home stretch. I like it. I think it's actually working out. I'm pretty pleased about that. So let's go. Thank you, ladies. I think it looks pretty too. Okay, so black beads. Here we go. I'm going to start over here up at the top corner. I will anchor my thread. And I'm using purple because why not? I just don't want to bother getting up and going get the white thread at this point. Plus, I think purple will be fine too. I will do this in sets of maybe 3. I want to be pretty snug going across the top. So let's turn this around. Let's try and make this as snug as I can, which means I'm stitching down the 3rd bead twice every single time, which does kind of help to keep it more or less straight. So one, 2, 3. Okay. Okay. I think I can get one on the edge, two. It's gonna be two. So I'm gonna go around the bend here, and then I'm gonna go through there, because I am dealing with a little bit of edge. 1, 2, 3. So I'm also now just starting to put a few stay stitches around the threads that my black beads are on, just to try to keep them from wanting to wobble, but also giving them a little more framing strength around the edge of the letter. Hi, you. Hi. I love it when I hear your little tail whacking back and forth. Hi. I love the mushroom and carrot, but still think the apple needs a mouth. A mouth. Where would you put the mouth on the apple, Charlie? Dizzy says, these make me think of those Puffy's letter stickers as a kid. Yes. Yes! Maybe the 80s kid in me is, maybe that's what's happening here. So, I'm going to go try and keep these nice and snug. Now, don't you steal any of that. No. No. Good girl. Yes, yes. Penny is allowed in the craft room. She's a very good girl. She doesn't tend to steal things, and to be fair, I am smart. I don't leave a lot of stuff, you know, where she can grab it. But every once in a while, you know, you're shuffling things around and you've got something within reach of an interested little mouth, and I have to kind of stop her from grabbing stuff. I think I can get 2 in here. Yes, just barely. Is that asking too much? No, I think that one's going to go right there. And then I'm going to stay stitch it up here. There we go. And I'm going to start the new one right here. Puffy stickers. Wasn't a new flat of stickers just the most incredible thing when you were a kid? Practically currency. Oh, because the seeds look like eyes. I see, I see. This is going to go right almost down into the curve. I think I can get one in here. Negotiating a bit of a turn. There used to be a shop. It was sort of a stationery store in the town where I grew up. And it was not there for very long, unfortunately. I guess there wasn't a lot of need for a stationery store. But it had a wall of stickers, and they were all in these lovely little dispensers, like almost like a toilet roll dispenser. And they were everything. They were every kind of, you know, puffy, laser, just everything. They were every kind of sticker. And I would go into that store and I would just stare at that wall of stickers. So they had big ones, they had, you know, lots of little ones. It was almost more than I could bear. I know that sounds funny, but I was an extremely emotional, still am pretty emotional, but I was a very, like I would get really worked up over whatever I was into, and that I almost couldn't stand it. It was just so great. And she had lovely lighting. It was just the nicest store. I was so sorry when I heard that it had closed, but I wasn't surprised. Stuff like that never really stuck around for very long in our town. This is a little clunky coming around the edge, but I think I can do it. I can stick my, I might have to do one at a time. I still love stickers. Yeah, I use stickers in my agenda. I use stickers constantly. I always have stickers around. So yeah, that never really went away. I mean, I'm making jokes here about being a kid and talking about it, but let's be honest. I still have like a ton of stickers. I just bought some not so long ago, like a whole great big pile of them because I like to use them in my agenda. It makes the days happier. Handmade stickers. Oh, wow. That's something I've never tried. Hmm. Dizzy D had albums of stickers. I had some sticker albums. I still have my very first one. I found it a few years ago, and I've tucked that away in a safe place. So I'm negotiating another curve up here. Am I losing the shape? Am I losing the shape by adding these black beads? I think I am. I think it looked better without the black bead edging. I think the big black bead edging makes it look too chunky and chonky. What do you guys think? I might take the beads back out. Do you think that makes it look a little clunky? Like, I think the black beads are too big. I think I'm losing the shape. I'm losing that nice shaping that it had. So I either go around with really tiny beads of some kind, or I don't frame it at all and I just stitch it onto the jacket. What do you guys think? Should I... It does take it away. Yeah, I think... I think embroidery. Yeah, the embroidery might be better. Tiny beads, says Beth. You know what? I'm taking them out. I'm taking them out. I'm going to snip it. I'm just going to pull them right out. I don't like it. They are too chunky, clunky, clonky, and it's not the right look. So, it's okay. Oops. Where'd that go? I'll find it later. Sew it in a way that uses black thread that shows the stitching with blue. Yeah, like a little, Dizzy was saying some embroidery. I think that might be the way we go. French knots? Yeah, maybe. Yeah. You know what? This is all great. I want to sort of figure this out as I go, because if I do it again, you know, it might be different depending on, where's this? I'm just going to snip this here. Let's just snip that there. Where is this coming from? Okay, maybe I'll just undo this knot, because I know that's the start of the black line, so I'll undo that one. Take that out. There we go. I really liked the I like the shape. Like the shaping turned out a lot nicer than I kind of had originally anticipated. So I don't want to lose that, and I feel like the black beads are just too clunky and chonky. So they're coming out. I think using black embroidery thread might be the way to go here. I still get that nice sort of outline, but without using the beads, which is fine. It doesn't have to be beady. Now where does this... I did a real number on this over here. Nope, that's what scissors are for. Okay. Whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. Done and done. Okay, so I'm going to call it there for today. I thought about doing the black beaded outline, decided I don't like it because this just looks so much better without it. See how there's so much more definition in the edging? I really like that. Like I feel like I did a nice job there, and I don't want to lose that. And I think you are right. Black embroidery floss will be low profile, a lot more manageable. I can put stitches where I want. I have to attach it anyway. Using black embroidery floss is a great choice. So I think I'm going to use black embroidery floss, and that is what I will use to not just sew it to the denim vest, but I will outline it with black embroidery floss. I think that might be what we do. I might do like a line around it and then stitch over top of it. I don't know. That'll be tomorrow. Okay, I'm going to trim this up, and I'm going to leave like a significant amount of border around it. I don't usually do that, but that's the plan. And then I will stitch it onto my jacket. I will do that with all of you, however. So that we can get an idea of how it looks. Can I go in here? Yeah, I'll go in here. Trying not to snip any little threads. Didn't snip any threads, but I may have snipped too far. Doesn't matter. I'm going to be sewing this down. Does not matter. This was not made for snipping through this kind of fabric. There we go. So working on the polar fleece, or not the polar fleece, but the fleece was a nice change, but it does make things a little more roly-poly. Not that that's a big deal. So there, it's all trimmed down. I will take a really good photograph of this laying flat. It will be the thumbnail for today's live stream. So if you want to come back and see it a little while later, you can. This is going to look different the next time we get together because I'm going to stitch it onto my jacket. That will be a whole affair. So I'm going to do that with you guys. Again, learning experience. Don't know how it's going to work out, but we're going to try it together. So that will be the plan. Let me pop into the chat just so I don't make sure that I miss anything. This rabbit is still losing her comments. I like the French knot idea, Dizzy. I might try that. A very thin chain stitch, Charlie. Ooh, yeah, that might look good too. I have so many options. Yes, it is important to try things. You know what? Next stream, I'm going to attach it to the vest. We will choose a spot. I think I've kind of narrowed it down, but you know, we'll see what we think together. Because I do appreciate your input. It is helpful to have extra sets of eyes, especially when you're doing something for the first time. This is going to be permanently attached to my vest, which is fine. I mean, I could cover it in all of these appliques. That might look kind of fun too, because it's a denim vest. And it's a very spring summery thing, so updating it with a bunch of like fun beaded patches might actually be, well, get the J on. I'm not going to jump ahead of myself. So I want to put this J on the jacket. That's the point. Got the J beaded. Didn't look right with the black beads, but that's okay. That's the whole point of this. A little bit of learning as we go. Thank you guys once again for being here with me and spending a little time being crafty, having the wonderful company. I appreciate your input. I appreciate just your company. It is so nice to sit and do something. And it's when you think out loud, but you actually have people there to kind of reflect your thoughts, makes the whole process a lot more fun. So yeah, I really appreciate you guys being here. Again, thank you so much. We are going to continue this crafty little adventure. I will see about possibly popping back on tomorrow. You never know what might happen. So probably around I tend to find the time in the afternoon. So it'll probably be in the afternoon. And I will be back with a setup to do more sewing rather than beading. I'm going to put this J on and we will figure it out together. And I'm looking forward to that too. So thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful evening wherever you may be. I hope you're zenning out, finding some peace, definitely feeling crafty. I hope these little events, even if they're just company, that's great, but I hope they also kind of help spark a little bit of something, a little bit of inspiration. I find that being with you guys, there's always a little like droplet of like new idea. There's always a little sparkle that comes out of these streams with you guys. So I really appreciate it, because I think being creative is a very important part of life. I think it does more than just make us happy. I think I don't know, it's a springboard for a lot of positivity and a lot of good things. So thank you. Thank you guys again for being here. Enjoy your evening. Have a safe and crafty afternoon, safe and crafty evening, safe and crafty morning, depending on wherever you are. Remember, we all get to sew our own stories. Make sure you're stitching yours. We get to stitch our own stories. We stitch together our stories out of so many different events and things and projects, and this is another one to be continued. Take care, everybody. Have a lovely evening.